LushLife. Yeah, I never subscribed to crosstown beef. The baroness of Broad Street, bowling green, black, folding the sheets, holding the heat from us before they flow in the streets. 89 wise, intelligent, live and unique. Or either on the corner, tips in the polar fleet. All I need is dime pieces, all the Jesus. OTC is crime in the city, rhyming and bombing graffiti on the bus just to catch a rush. LushLife, bright ballad of heavenly days with heavenly brains. Like Henry James, Henry drinker with a parent with a pair of names. Balenciaga, penny loaf of pride and food. Used to rock around the beat, but moving at the dance. Now I'm in the bag of rap, stacks and rap. Real building tracks, and classes, singing it back. When I say your beautiful things, why can't I live? Cause that's how it is, that's how it is.
The shaman is a person who has, in his late childhood, early youth, could be male or female, had an overwhelming psychological experience that turns them totally inward. The whole unconscious has opened up and they've fallen into it. And it's been described many, many times, and it occurs all the way from Siberia right through the Americas down to Tierra del Fuego. It's a kind of schizophrenic crack-up, the shaman experience.
What kind of experience?
Dying and resurrecting, you know, being on the brink of death and coming back to actually experience the death experience. People who have very deep dreams. Dream is a great source of the spirit. And then people who in the woods have had mystical encounters.
Well, let me try to be specific about it. The shaman becomes
y'all still with me, New Orleans?
In a society who is
make some motherfucking noise.
By experience from the normal world into the world of the gifted, the gifted, the gifted, the gifted, the gifted.
From the locks. Yeah. Go slow me, go the damn fuck from damn ass that mediation. Let go with the from fake rap, never be that freaky breaking. All time on TV chasing that BET or ABBC. We making sin that BET and meditating. Matter of fact, I still wanna play coke. I still wanna play Coco. I don't wanna be played, but I wanna be around. Ain't no dope, and I won't go. And it won't be the bands, it won't be the friends. I won't you gonna go that in the end. To make my entry, make my legends, make that record spin. Back on my 76 with damn right here. We walking around on top of the land. Manifest destiny, had a believe in me, don't make no sense. You need to get away with on my records. And I gotta pay taxes, pay that rent until we second treasure. Life still ain't better, man. I'm still on stage with a hit rap better win. Better make a move now when it all falls down. I'm pretty happy, rock veteran. That's not so bad, not so easy to have. Battle, rapping in a verse, they wanna make it easy to rap. Wanna bring it, Puerto Rican, I'll be for rap, but you can sing it. Ever since 86, everything in the right flow, people never speaking. Every weekend's a blur, every night's automatic. Better off for the past, we gotta got truth and beauty all about it. Everything we touch is gold, everything I see is bright. Every day I'm on tech, hold on, and it might as well be night.
My lapel mic on? Yeah. Okay, cool. This is so weird to like go from that to a PowerPoint presentation. All right. Let me just catch my breath here. All right, guys, I'm LushLife. From Philadelphia, as Billy explained. I am 31 years old. I'm a rapper, producer, sort of multi-instrumentalist. Not terribly good at any particular instrument, but studied a lot of them. And yeah, I've been studying music, recording music, and playing music for like better part of my life. Professionally since I was 20, and so that's like the last decade, making records, putting out records. And you know, I was in school like you guys. I went to NYU, and I dropped out after my second year, which I absolutely don't advise, but it was kind of just the way the dice fell for me. And after that, I kind of floundered for a little bit, and I moved to London, just totally kind of eloped. Well, not with anybody, but just like bounced, got away for a little while. And so that was around 2004, and I just decided to basically put out some music. And it's around the time that mashups were kind of just coming to the fore, and Danger Mouse had put out his seminal record, the Grey Album. Do you guys know that? Yeah, so it was, for those of you who don't, it's a mashup between Jay-Z's Black Album and the Beatles' White Album. I sort of followed suit, actually just weeks later, with Kanye West's work with Beach Boys' Pet Sounds, and it was called West Sounds, so cleverly. But yeah, that was a real sort of turning point for me, because it sort of went close to viral. And it was around the time that MySpace was kind of popping off, and I really leveraged. I had no infrastructure to put it out. I just put it out online, and really leveraged social media pretty early on. And there were 1 million downloads within like a month, and it was covered not only by the English music press, but like just the regular broadsheet newspapers and stuff. So it was really opened my eyes to sort of what was possible. And then, just to give you some brief background before I start, I kind of came back to the States and started on the steam of that, got a label deal for my first artist album, and started working on that. Spent like 2 years working on that, and then that record came out, and nothing fucking happened at all. And so the last sort of portion of my career, most recently, is putting out my latest album, Plateau Vision. And that's kind of what I want to focus on in this talk, because I think I learned a lot from those early experiences, and I sort of brought them together in the last 2 years to honestly kind of kickstart a stalled career in a lot of ways. So let's see, what's going on right now? The buzz. All right, so after putting out Plateau Vision, it's been covered the last 24 months on all of the brand name music blogs, Pitchfork and whatever, Gorilla versus Bear and all those things. And I'm happy for all those things. They're wonderful, but blog buzz is blog buzz. So, and New York Times did a nice write-up on me in the Sunday Times, and most recently, Stereo Gum called LushLife one of the top 40 bands of 2012, which is quite an accomplishment since I'm not a band, but yeah, so that's where we are now. But 2010 was an absolute different story. Nobody gave a shit. It was really depressing. I was probably working a pretty crummy day job. I had, put out one record, that one, Cassette City on the left. Well, let me go back and sort of talk about that. So that's the West Sounds cover. It's Kanye West, Bear, Brian Wilson to the left of him, and me over there on the right. But anyway, so after that came out, I came back to the States and kind of with a label deal in hand with a company called K7. And they're a pretty big organization. They're based in Berlin. They had a lot of money coming in from like a few early electronic sort of hits, like Stereo MCs Connected. Do you know that record? You gotta get yourself connected or something. You know that one? Writings on the Wall. Yeah, so they had like some money coming in from that sort of stuff. And they wanted to put out my first record, which was great. But so what I did was I grew up in the tail end of, I guess, the album era, and I'm like such an albumist, and like I grew up listening to two sides of cassettes and LPs and later CDs, and I wanted to create that kind of classic sort of album experience. And so I took the fat advance check that they gave me, and I lived on it for 2 years almost, and I put together what I still think is a great record called Cassette City, with no mindfulness of, well, how is this record going to be promoted? What kind of marketing budget is there? Have you eaten up all that marketing budget, like eating and drinking and going out and mixing and mastering and all these things? And so when it came time to put this album out in 2009, there was very little marketing budget left, and really I had no plan in terms of, I thought, hey, I'm going to give the world a really fully formed album, and the world will love it, and that's the end of the story. And maybe that happens once in a while for artists, but largely it doesn't. It takes a coordinated push. And so we put it out, and literally, it's a little bit of critical sort of reception and ballyhoo, but 1 year later, I had nothing. No press, no label, no management, no agent booking shows. I was broke, and I had no career, essentially. So the one thing I did have was new music. I was like halfway through what became Plateau Vision already at that point, middle of 2010. And so knowing what I knew from my experience with these past records, I took a really measured approach, and I was like, okay, look, I have 2 years. I want to put this album out that I really believe in. I want to do it in 2 years, and by the end of those 2 years, I want to be extremely relevant again. And so the way I did this was not to finish the record that I was making, but I threw that on this shelf, put it on ice for a while, and said, okay, we need to create more free content, because the album you're going to sell is not the album you want to give away to people. And as we all know, free content is what makes the world, well, the blogs go around anyway. So I, through end of 2010 and 2011, I worked on a mixtape called No More Golden Days. And I guess the irony is I spent like 6 months working on an 18-track behemoth of a mixtape in order to promote like a 10-track album, which is weird. But I did it anyway. And so by this end of the summer of 2011, I grinded through this record, and this mixtape. And I wanted this mixtape to kind of express what I was about aesthetically, both in how it was presented visually and in the music and in the content. And so all of that was really sort of well sort of conceived. And the plan was that we're going to take 10 of the tracks from the mixtape and slowly, over 4 months, leak them to various blogs and build some buzz that way. The only problem was none of the blogs I cared about me. So one of the things I've learned in this experience and what we did was really started small. The first leak, we went to Potholes in My Blog, which is sort of, I don't know, it's a niche blog in the corner of the internet, and they had been sort of following my work over the years, so they were happy to post something. And what I didn't realize then that I realize now is that it's best to go to these people that are going to evangelize for you, I think. Everybody wants all the clicks and adoration that like some pitchfork buzz will get you or something, but that stuff comes when it comes, and you can't predict that stuff. And if you want to create a long-lasting career with people who really care about your music, it's about sort of getting it to the people who are going to support it. And so over the 4 months and the 10 leaks, it started with that Potholes in My Blog post and culminated with a write-up in the Sunday print New York Times where they had reached out to me, and they were just like, we love this mixtape and we want to write about it in the Sunday Times, and that was mind-blowing. But that really shows the power of sort of going to the people who are going to support you and letting the other stuff kind of fall into place. Do you guys want to hear something from the mixtape? Yeah.
Check. Bottle rocket. Yeah, I'm 25 and it's living life for Sunset City rooftops where my crew rock the sunset. Better set it off alone, better than roaming through that 125 danger zone. Chrome be spinning but lonely women, hold your own, looking for Christ. Yo, it's LushLife, the Diddy Bopper holding the phone, so you can walk a mile in my shoes recently, yo. Well, I've been hitting switches too much frequently, yo, and puffing trees just to pass the time. Pass the peas like a pantomime. It's fascinating when I spit a rhyme. For one moment it's still water, I still order single malt scotch with a bill taller than hill order. Follow me with the strobe lights and put me on. Come with the birds, can my words be the phenomenon? So peep the script, kid, I'm following too. The late night, empty or shank, following through. Spit fire levitators all night. Bottle rocket, LushLife, ready to bust mic for bottle rocket. Everybody stand up, watching the show, watching the flow. Bottle rocket, watching it go. Spit fire levitators all night. Bottle rocket, LushLife, ready to bust mic for bottle rocket. Everybody stand up, watching the show, watching the flow. Bottle rocket, watching it go. You're watching silkworms spin for ducats, spin $1 bill still, but we thinking fuck it. It's just a circumstance, dance as long as I can before I drop off and levitate. Blessing greens before I meditate. Looking in the palm of my hand, see the city, yo, reflecting off the charm in my band. Brand names, I ain't got 'em, but we looking so gully. Running up in the club, looking like we ain't looking for money. You get the female nails and skinny jeans, plus my fat cap game. Got the city greens looking so clean. When the ink spills, beats, rhymes, and life. 86 diamond nights, the levitators got me feeling right, yo. I spit the sunflower seeds when I'm rocking the show. Double L, make the whole spot glow. When you look up at the skyline, you looking at me. I'm a breath of fresh air in your MP3. Spitfire levitators all night, bottle rocket, lush life, ready to bust mic for bottle rocket. Everybody stand up, watching the show, watching the flow, bottle rocket, watching it go. Spitfire levitators all night, bottle rocket, lush life, ready to bust mic for bottle rocket. Everybody stand up, watching the show, watching the flow, bottle rocket, watching it go. Yeah, we vibrating for that early girl late night jam. When the flower pots grow in their hand, sitting on the balcony fresh, kingfisher bubbling left. To my right, the pen and pad, yo, is all I got left. When I pass the gem down to your man, spin the gold dust, bottle rockets down to your fan. And a fair share of motherfuckers out of my hand, but I'ma turn a blind eye till she clock it again. Till she clock it again. Spitfire levitators all night, bottle rocket, lush life, ready to bust mic for bottle rocket. Everybody stand up, watching the show, watching the flow, bottle rocket, watching it go. Spitfire levitators all night, bottle rocket, lush life, ready to bust mic for bottle rocket. Everybody stand up, watching the show, watching the flow, bottle rocket, watching it go.
All right, so end of 2011, and it's been a year. It's jarring, right? So it's the end of 2011, just put out this mixtape, and you know, getting there with some momentum and stuff, but there's this record that I set out to release, and there's still nobody out there that's gonna put it out. I don't have any sort of team around me, but you know, with the momentum building, that also started to fall into place. And one of the things, you know, as much as Billy sort of mentioned, I'm like a DIY dude, you know, like I adhere to sort of DC hardcore, do-it-yourself punk ethos, and I'm all for sort of getting things done on your own terms, but there is a time and a place to get a team that shares your goals kind of involved. And so right at the end of 2011, all these dudes fell together. Publicity team from LA, friends of friends, they called, did an incredible job. In fact, I had to, just to go on a kind of side excursion, I brought them on and like I courted them. Before I even went after labels, I needed somebody who had a direct conduit to these blogs, and these dudes did, and they sort of believed in my music, and I ended up shelling out like the exact amount I'd pay in rent on them for 4 months, which was just so fucking tough. It was like ramen noodles for like months, I swear, but it was worth it, and they believed in the record, and on the strength of what we were able to do, Western Vinyl knocked on my door rather than me not being in a position of power and having to go out to labels and, you know, beg them to put my fucking record out. And so Western Vinyl, you know, it felt right with these guys. They're just like, they're a mid-sized indie. They're most notable, I guess, for launching Dirty Projectors. And this would be their first hip-hop release, and they came to me saying, yeah, we've wanted to do a hip-hop record for ages, and this is the one we want to do. And during negotiations, it was like, it just seemed like I was honestly like, I was talking with people, and I was guarded about this, but like, I felt like these are people who care about, you know, both putting the record out and making money, but also the things I want. And they were willing to sort of bend, whereas in the past I feel like labels that are just very rigid in how they end up negotiating with you, don't tend to sort of parlay into good experiences overall, but Western Vinyl has been incredible. And so this team came on board, and something that I didn't know, in the past I didn't have this kind of team, but I didn't realize how interdependent management, publicist, agent, and label have to be on a day-to-day basis to move the ball across the field. It's like everybody's got to sort of be communicating with one another. Your agent's booking a tour around a release date that the label gave him or her, and your publicity team has to make sure there's regional press happening for those shows, and your manager has to be out there sort of making sure that the business is developing and that there's opportunities coming in. And at the nexus, at the sort of center of all of that, I found myself. And I think this is really, really super important for any artist, is to know that you're at the center of that team on not to be like hippy-dippy, but even on a cosmic level, because you're the centerpiece of what the art is and what the product is, to keep that group momentum going and to keep everyone communicating and excited. You have to really, as an artist, be in that environment every day and working with all those people. And so that kind of 2012 shattered my long-held dream of what my life as a musician would be, sitting at a table in Paris, writing songs and smoking dope. It ended up being more like that. It's a real screenshot. Climbing Inbox Mountain sucks, but it's important. I mean, it's in order to advance your career, I've found I have to be efficient about making music and creating art, because it's only 25% of my time. The other 75% is Inbox Mountain, and that's something I learned. So, planning Plateau Vision, top of 2012. We're now a year and a half out from when I kind of set out to try to release an album, and there's not an album out, but we've got a label, or I've got a label, whatever, and there's a team out there ready to put it out. We've got a release date through our distributor, Secretly Canadian, for April 17th, and so this is January, and we're like, okay, we realize there have to be months and months of planned marketing assets that go out prior to this record going out, and then after it's out. And I learned that making Cassette City, where I focused so fully on an album that there was just this album that got usurped by the constant stream of stuff on the internet. And so, we meticulously as a group planned out every track we were going to leak from the record, and what blogs we'd want it on, or print outlets or whatever, and what would be the singles, when those would potentially drop, and music videos. We went through a ton of treatments and wanted to see sort of what fit the brand that we were building around LushLife. Remixes are so powerful and so important, because they're a way to sort of broaden your audience and reach new people. And I think a good piece of the puzzle in general, in terms of how you're going to build buzz and build your brand, is to sort of always think about what's going to make a good piece to get out there to the world. How is it going to build your audience out, or on the other hand, present you in a new light to your current fans? And I think remixes have the power to do that, to both get you in front of the fans of the person who's remixing you, but also to sort of reorient your music in a whole new light. And so we planned all of that out, and there's some really interesting bits. I think I'm so embarrassed because this is the music video for Magnolia, the first song I played, and I think it's a great example of a really strong marketing asset. And I hate to fucking keep bringing up these terms, these very, very marketing-oriented terms when speaking about art. I know it's like uncouth, but all right, we've got to make a living here. So, this video for Magnolia was the paragon of a good piece of marketing. I just wanted to mention before anybody else mentions it that I'm wearing the same shirt from the video. So let me tell you a little bit about this this video. Let me just see what kind of time we got here. Right, so the video cost $88 to make. We worked with these two young directors from Oklahoma City who were students at the time. They're not students anymore, but they pitched us on the idea, and they were like, they sent us a treatment, and I'm looking at this PDF, and it's like, all right, so we want to create, for lack of a better word, word heads for every single word in the song. There are 188 words in the song. So I'm like looking like, oh, so where's the CGI part of this? And they're like, and it turns out they wanted to sit and build these things. One of them worked at Whole Foods and had access to cardboard. And so he's like, gonna build these word heads, 188 of them. And so, there's part of me that felt like, I don't know if, this is a great idea, but is the scope there for these two dudes to really do this? And, we're gonna end up kind of putting time and energy into this as well, and if it doesn't turn out, it's going to be a tough thing. But in the end, they absolutely came through. It cost $88 to make, except for my flight out there, I guess. It was covered on NPR. It was a Vimeo staff pick, Stereo Gum Top Videos of the Year. Next week, it will be a jury selection at the South by Southwest Film Festival. And it was wholly an effective vehicle for introducing me to a new audience, a real quantum leap. And we can watch the video potentially. I must say, I was checking this out, this YouTube PowerPoint integration. It's going to be a little jittery, but whatever. Get the idea.
Intelligent, live and unique. Can breathe on the corner, dipped in a polar fleece. When all I need is dime pieces, all of Jesus. All she see is crime in the city, rhyming, embalming graffiti on the bus. Just to catch a rush, LushLife, right ballad of heavenly dames with heavenly frames. Rap Henry James, Henny drinker with a periwinkle tailor made. Balenciaga suit, penny loafer, Prada boot. Used to rock the wallabies while cooling out in Xanadu. Now I'm on tobacco rack, stacks and raps. Real building tracks, hand claps and spitting it back. So when I stay saying beautiful things, why can't I live? Cause Vogel, half rap mogul, half modal rap, clap vocals, stack totals and slush, Vita, La Wonder Wheel, Coney Island in summer. I'ma feel the #1 stunner in the sun appeal. And still always looking for breaks, or either on the corner looking for Jake. High stakes, we looking to make a wild butter thesis. I hope Grandma Z, rest in peace, word to Jesus, a word to whoever motherfuckers a true believer. I hope he's sitting on planet rock and human leaving. Black party, human leaving. Earth, I'm guzzling beer and rock a stare everywhere I look. Kilroy's here, written clear, spitting in the code of the streets. They holding the heat like the sun that's looming in the sky, old and unique. Speak the pitter patter, breath of the kids and breath of the whiz.
That's how it is. How it is.
It took a tractor trailer to, for the last scene to put all of those bits of cardboard together. It's amazing to see. Let's see. All right. So after a year and 11 months, on April 17th, 2012, released Plateau Vision. And fairly widespread critical praise and a cadre of pretty devoted fans, and that the latter is really important to me because, you know, the press is going to find something else at some point. They probably already found something else beyond me, but I feel like I've come out of these 2 years with people that'll carry me, people that care about my music and care about the next thing that I do. And it was a commercial success too, because I've managed I had a budget, I had a decent budget, but I managed it properly, and for a mid-sized indie to sustain and to make it viable. And so Western Vinyl's optioned the next release, and moving onward. So next for me, after sort of building some visibility, was asked in January to work on Eminem's comeback album. Needs some fresh blood, I guess, for his record. So I started working on that stuff, and my buddy Himanshu from Das Racist and I are working on a record, and you know, I think the real thing I want to do is I think the last 2 years were an exercise in first building buzz, and then turning that buzz into a brand. And now that there's some sort of brand, I think in the next year I want to make that profitable, and not just so I'm living well, but so I can continue to make the art I want to make. That's it. If you want to learn about what I do, you can go to my blog, The Youngin' in Love, or check me out on social spaces. I was going to play another tune, but I think maybe we only have time for Q&A. I'm not sure. We have? Okay. Yeah.
Growing up words, I was just another young brother in the suburbs, till I discovered that I love words. As a teenager in the 90s, green pager, Nautica jacket, near long screensaver, had the newest slang down pat, boomerang soundtrack playing in my room, playing hoops, laying down rap. Swore I would get to the point. 3 albums later, I'm like Biggie singing to fans, give me one more chance, forgive me. I wanna get it right or get busy. My record gets spins and in turn I get dizzy. You know the drill, son, spinning, try to dig deep. Just past 6 feet, touch that mystery. I misread the signs and I find myself lost, but I only know I'm lost when I find myself. When I can see, I wonder why I blind myself. I know I just forget to remind myself. This a rap for the rap fans. DeRozan on the break, spinning breaks, this is that jam. Photo of your ex-girl in the trash can. Just a CAT scan of a simple rap, man. This that lush life for them tough nights. Can't stand upright, blood types, Bud Light. And Metropolis is falling on top of us. Banks and the Bibles all close, so we profitless. Take a close look at what they offer us. If you don't dig it, redefine prosperous. And that's nothing but some common sense confidence. New classics on classical opulence.
That moral ABC is the most important set of teachings that help mankind to survive. The essence of it is that it is full truth. It is absolute full truth. At all times, to all human beings, any place on earth, the moral ABC is solid as a rock. To summarize it, it says on 6 million peppermint soap labels, quote, the second coming of God's law. Mohammed's Arabs 1948 found Israel Essene scrolls, and Einstein's Hillel prove that as certain as no 6-year-old can grow up free without the ABC, so certain can no 12-year-old survive free without the moral ABC.
It's the sunflower days where I was paid, make media showers, devour all the sourness up in the cage. In Philadelphia's a pretty stage where urban decay is traded for amazing street neatly paid. Flavorfully mind fine, but it's a dream sequence of a sweet princess confessing to a street pretense. Lessons is learned when sessions is burned, and I've earned the right to rock the mic for blessed return. So when the black folks fall black, I'm getting it on. A tall lord of order for my people, letting it on. Flow through iron horse causeways, this cabinets. Always is ravenous. Some rays and spray with happiness. So ice chains and singing sweet serenade. Better days while fellas play the poppy fields. The city safe for better pay. Objectively observant. The corners for the turban. Urban living, y'all. I smoke some urban drinks and bourbon. Yeah, it's all motivation. It's just motivation. All motivation. It's just motivation. Yeah, it's just motivation, it's all motivation, just motivation, it's all motivation. This beat comes from my man Clams Casino. Any Clams Casino fans? Yeah. Check. You wanna hear another verse? Yeah. True indeed, I say Godspeed. Come the nighttime, we take flight crime. Down pedal, let's battle lifetimes. Sometimes it moves too fast. Girl Scout sash in the past become fast cash for ass. Rainbow colors seeping in while cities sleeping in. Creeping towards the beacon where I'm beacon as I'm beating. Son, I'm thinking is this real? East River be the beach front where people daydream. I think it may breathe a smoking skunk. You could say it's an illusion, but it's soothing nonetheless. Let the mic get the rest. Test exhaling from the breath while I tiptoe across landscapes. Man-made structures as lovers with brainwaves. Bring strange ways alive. Gonna strive to drive these rapping brothers aside. Slide through space-time, fine. I'm keeping it live. When the mission bell rings, stop the verse of the dresser. Lesson learned, be motivation under a pleasure. It's all motivation, it's just motivation. All motivation, it's just motivation. It's just motivation, it's all motivation. It's just motivation, it's all motivation.
Always let this one ride out. I love it. That's called motivation, obviously. It's not as uplifting as you think. Hope not, anyway. All right, I got one more for you, and then we'll do a quick Q&A.
The lights on in the city. I'm leaving the lights on in the city. I'm leaving the lights on in the city. I'm leaving the lights on in the city. Rebellion sound class, we got the lights on in the city. I'm leaving the lights on in the city. I'm leaving the lights on in the city. I'm leaving the lights on in the city. Rebellion sound class, we downtown, Iridium bound. Found holding the fifth golden ticket, pretty and brown. Putting it down for the least suit era. Theodora track jacket, colorways in the pea soup era. L double Hertz, Sienna, he back to glaze. Typical land living so vivid when he back for days. It's a glittering light, matter of fact, consider it light. Shoegazing the pretty days for the brilliant night. I'm just a better way of blowing the haze. Navigating the city plains that's everlasting in the maze. She got a fireworks display complex. Patterns of speech is pure magic when you take it in context. Live convex in the land. Rose petal, cool breeze in the band. 10 deep without a reason to span. The ill Philly Jim boys effects in the booth. The Rap City when he cutting the tracks. Leaving the lights on in the city. I'm 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 leaving the lights on in the city. Thanks, y'all.
Any questions? LushLife.
Don't be shy.
We're always a little shy. The hand. I gotta say, Raj,
Yeah.
thank you very much for being here.
Yeah, no, my pleasure.
Song? Yeah. Hey, you're awesome, by the way. I've never heard of you before, but you're really cool. I was wondering what kind of setup you have. Like, what kind of hardware do you use and software?
Okay, so here's the underpinning to my setup. In 2009, my girlfriend and I did a 1-month tour in Europe, and I brought everything under the goddamn sun with me. Like, literally, I had a mandolin with me, and like we had like 3 extra flight cases of stuff. And after that horrendous experience, my goal when I got home was, all right, if I'm gonna sustain doing this, I need to pare my setup down into something that fits into one rolling case that I can pay $50 for on each flight and take with me and set up at shows. But it also has to provide me with the capacity to create a dynamic performance. And so, I use Ableton, and Ableton's really cool because I use it when I'm actually making the records, and then you can kind of use it in this other perspective as a performance tool. And this Akai controller controls all the samples, and then I have this Alesis $149 Launchpad thing. It's a drum controller, and so you can assign all the pads, and they're pressure sensitive. I only bring up this $149 because it's lasted me 4 years on the road, and I'm very proud of it. And then I have this little Akai keyboard, and, you know,
That's how it is.
samples and things all set up and triggered for it. But yeah, so it's a pretty minimal setup, and but it still provides me with the opportunity to, you know, give people what they paid to see, and not just another fucking rapper with a mic and a backing track. Which you know, whatever. There's dudes that do that, and it's good. But I just want to do something beyond that.
Cool. Thanks.
That's interesting. Hold up. That's a good question. I always sort of thought that one of the big boons of being on a label is that they'd clear the samples for you, and you wouldn't have to deal with anything. Absolutely not the case, especially with, you know, in indie label. They just clearing one sample is gonna take more than my entire album budget. And so there's certain things that we try to clear when we talk to our lawyers, and, you know, if they're feasible to clear, and we think that there could be some issues, we'll try to go out of our way to clear them. But in a lot of ways, I just, you know, number one, try from a production standpoint to cloak things fairly well. And then there's stuff that's fairly obvious too, and we just, you know, let it fly. If we're doing well enough that Barry White's coming after me, I think I'll be all right. Barry White's not coming after me. Anybody else?
I was wondering if you are like currently touring or show dates in America.
So I'm kind of on the tail end of touring Plateau Vision. I did like close to 100 dates last year. Right now, I just did a couple spot dates. I played in Oklahoma City last night, or 2 nights ago, and then I'm kind of off the road. I think. Oh no, I go to South by Southwest, and I have a bunch of shows there. So whoever's going to be at South by Southwest, feel free to say hello. And after that, I'm fully focusing on my upcoming record, and I'm going to be finishing that in Los Angeles.
Great. Well, please join me in thanking Mark.